So, my name is Harlan McDowell, and I'm here to tell you about the solar-powered water heater at our home. This is the water heater. It's over 250 gallons of water that's being heated for our house use. So I'll start here by telling you that we have 3 panels up on the roof of this house. According to our calculations, that's about 35 feet up. We have to get the water that's going to heat the house water to move up and down. So it has to go 35 feet up in the air and come back down again. So to do that, we have a system here of piping. It goes all the way to the roof. The liquid in that pipe is circulating around like it does in your automobile. It's going up, getting warmed up there by the sun, and comes back down here. It comes down here and it goes through a tank, which is a modulator for pressure. That tank has to be at about 12 pounds per square inch. Along with that, there's a little pump here that pumps the system and keeps the fluid moving. It moves through the pipe into the tank, and in there is a heat exchanger. In other words, this hot water from upstairs is coming into the tank, and it is surrounded by the use of the water that's going to be used in the house. So it's a transfer proposition. The water gets heat, transfers inside to the house water. The house water and this water here never comes in contact. So it comes in, heats the water, and that's what's going on. Now, you can't see it from where you are, but there's a gauge there that says 44 pounds. We've calculated that it takes at least 40 pounds of pressure for the water to come up to the roof and back down again. And that, along with the pump and this modulator, control the movement of that water. So what we're doing is we're heating water upstairs in the roof, bring it back down, run it through the tank, and the tank then has surrounding house water. It gets warmed up, and that's the way the system works. Right now, the roof is heating this water at about 90 degrees temperature. We have a gauge here that says the water coming in is about 100 degrees coming down from the roof. That 100 degrees goes into the tank, warms the surrounding water, comes out again, and we're measuring that it's about 80, meaning you have absorbed 20 degrees of water in this tank by using this system. On a good sunny day, that'll go up to 120. This coming water down would be probably close to $200 degrees. So it's a heat transfer system. You're transferring heat that the fluid is absorbing upstairs, bringing it down, transferring it to water that you're going to use in the house. All right? Are there any questions?
Any questions?
You need to have 24 pounds at least to get this fluid moving.
Okay, but you said 44 is ideal.
Pardon me?
44 is ideal.
Well, no, 40 is good. Anything above 24 is good. This tank has a inflatable bladder in it that moves up and down and helps keep that pressure.
What happens if,
The pump will come on. There's a little red light there, and that comes on when a sensor up there in the roof says the fluid is hot enough to start moving. So as it comes on, the pump starts working and the system starts working.
what happens if there's no sun? If you go a whole stretch of time
Well,
with very little sun?
There may not be any sun that you see. What you see are clouds. And the sun does come through with its heating ultraviolet rays and still operates. So if there is enough, it'll still operate even though there's not any visible sun out here. So you have to depend on the sensor. When the sensor says, hey, it's warm enough, whether sun's showing or not, it'll heat. Enough for that system. You want to talk about the water system? The water system is independent of the transfer system. We have a water system here because we have a pump outside that goes down into the ground. In this particular area, it goes down about 200 feet. So we're getting water from water that's down in the Earth's surface. It is pumped up by a pump outside, brought in, and is stored in that tank. That tank will hold about 100 gallons. And what happens is when the water comes in from the outside pump, it'll pump it to a certain pressure. That pressure will operate the tank, and it'll have a constant pressure of about 80 pounds per square inch. And that sends the water throughout the house. When you use water, like you flush the toilet, it'll draw down some water, the pump will start, fill it back up again, and keep the system warm and hot. Not hot, but it'll be charged with pressure. To make sure the water in this area is good, we have a water softener tank there, and it softens the water. So all of the water in our house is softened water. We have some spigots outside that use the pump directly outside, but we don't use that water for drinking.
Why is it important to soften the water?
Why do we want to soften the water? If you don't, you get iron, a lot of iron in this area. It'll start showing up in your clothes as a color. And it's all right for drinking, but it doesn't taste good. And consequently, we have another tank here. It flushes from that tank over to this tank, and it goes from this tank to the house. Now, that second tank is for primarily sulfur, to pull sulfur out of the water, because it not only smells, but it doesn't taste good. So we have two systems, a softener and another treatment for sulfur. Every once in a while, you have to charge it with a potassium permanganate because it absorbs the sulfur. It's flushed out down the drain. By usage only, in other words, if we use 10 gallons, or we can set it for 100 gallons or 200 gallons, the meter there says at the end of that time, it's time to recharge. It recharges the water softener, and it uses water out of here, which is a salt water. The salt cleanses the micro or the minerals that are in the softener so that it is clean and will absorb the materials we want to get out of it. So every once in a while you have to charge, or let's say clean, the water softener. You do that by setting the clock up here on the meter. We've got it set now that it'll go about every 3 days, or about 3,000 gallons. So when it hits its cycled 3,000 gallons, it'll start the pump going. It'll use this material to that material, through that material, and out the drain. At the end of that time, that's a timer. The timer will time for the time required to do that cleansing, and it'll stop until the next time it's required. So you have a hot water system, you have a cold water system that has been, in our minds, purified of all the irons and things that affect the taste and the makeup of the water coming into the house.
So the water in the hot water system doesn't go through this whole cleansing system?
The hot water in here that's going to go through the house has been heated by the solar system, but as far as the system, all the water for the house, including that for the hot water, has gone through the system. So it is softened. So the pipe goes from there up to this and out up to the house. So all the water that we use in the house has been softened.
Okay, so how do you know when to replace the salt and this other?
Well, the salt goes into this tank. You open it up and you see salt and some water. Water is piped in to the salt, makes salt water, which is then piped back into the system. So right now you can see the salt, the water is down below, but it is getting salty because it's in there for a while. And when the salt goes down visibly, you have to pick up a bag and dump it in there. So.
And what about replacing the ingredient that goes in that system?
This over here, you come over here and open up this cover. You have a little stirring stick, liquid here, and you look at that, you see that now it's almost pale, so it needs treatment now. So I go up here,
Demonstrate.
and I take some, actually it's this one here. This is
What is that called?
permanganate. This is a filter for a filter, which this is. In this case, it's iron. It's iron shavings. Iron permanganate is a requirement because when this goes through this tank, it cleans that tank like the salt water cleans that tank. You can see now, I put some of that permanganate in here, and you can see it's coming out dark red. And the permanganate is something that dissipates after a while, so you have to check this once in a while and make sure it's working.
How often do you have to check it?
I usually come down here once in a while and just stir it see if it's getting what do you call it? Is less permanganate. It's getting clear, and it should be red. And I just put it in there.
And,
So it's by usage more than anything else. You come down once in a while and take a look at it.
and about how often do you have to put a bag of salt in?
Oh, right now I buy the salt, 10 bags at a time from not this outfit. This is Wolverine is an outfit that supplies all this equipment and salt. And we're getting about 10 bags twice a year. 10 bags, so it boils down to about a bag a month, a little more. I call them up and they just come and bring it in. So you can see there's quite a bit of salt there, and I got salt there. They were just here about a month ago. $84 for 10 bags brought in. Permanganate is about $40, but that container up there will last you probably close to 2 years.
And can you explain the electrical, the backup system on the solar?
Just to make sure we have hot water all the time, and the sun is not shining much, you need a secondary backup, and in this case it's electricity. So there is an electric wire here, goes up and over to our box, and it feeds this based on temperature. So if the temperature in the tank is not giving us, normally a hot water tank in your home would be running at about 120 degrees. When it starts falling down below that, a switch here will say, hey, your solar system's not working enough, so you need electric. And then when it comes back up again to 120 degrees, it'll shut off. So the solar and the electric backup work in tandem. If one doesn't do the job, the second one comes in until the sun comes out, it heats it up enough, then it backs off and the sun takes over.
And what percent would you say that the solar system is heating the water, what percent of the time, and the electricity is heating it?
Well, it's kind of hard to tell, but on the other hand, day in and day out, winter, summer, it is about probably, my guess is that the electricity operates at about 30% of the time, and solar takes over 70% of the time.
So it's primarily heated by solar.
So it is a system that's working, and it has worked for, this system is installed 30 years ago. It's still working.
And you installed it yourself.
Yes, that's right. We did install it with the help of a plumber. But just recently this tank went bad, and we had trouble trying to hold the 40 pounds per square inch. So we now have about 50 pounds per square inch. It's telling you that solar is doing its job now.
So the problem was that the pump wasn't working and you needed to get a new pump? You needed a new pump.
No, I didn't need a new pump. The pump is working. It's this tank. This tank has a bladder in it that is charged with 12 pounds per square inch air. And when the pressure up here goes down, that pump that pressure comes up and forces the water through the system to at least 40 pounds per square inch. It's running at about 50 now, so this is just sort of idling. It's waiting to see what has to happen.
Is there anything else we should know about this system?
No, you just have to pay attention to it. Come down once in a while, see if the gauge is at 40 pounds or better. If it's holding at 40 pounds, fine. If it's dropping down below, trouble. Trouble is that this tank may not be working.
And then what do we do?
And you call the plumber. We just bought a new tank that's been in there 30 years, and that tank cost me $46.
Oh boy.
And to have a plumber come in to install it was another $130. But the system has been running good, and I think we're using a good bit of sunlight.
And the big advantage to it is that it's earth friendly.
Oh yes, it's very friendly. Doesn't use any carbon at all. There's no gas involved here.
And does it save on, it must save on your electricity bill.
Well, we do. But it's kind of hard to tell. I haven't gone back to figure it. But I can remember when we put the system in, we had two things. We had a oil-fired water system to heat the house, And when we put that in, our bills dropped to about 35%. That's on the air heating. And when we put this in, we didn't have it. We put it in shortly after we moved into the house, so I don't have much experience dollar-wise what we had before. But I still say it's definitely paid for itself over the years.
Well, it's a beautiful system.
Thank you. And I hope you keep an eye on it, and it'll serve you well.
Thank you for that presentation. I'll probably be referencing it frequently.
As long as I don't have to keep coming.
Thank you. Say goodbye.
Goodbye now. Been good talking with you.
Thank you.